Hello, everyone. Welcome to Durrett's Take. I enjoyed a wonderful weekend of college football, and I'm ready for week 2 of it. But also now it's finally time for NFL season to kick off, and it's finally time to reveal my NFL predictions to you guys. So let's get started, and we'll get started with the AFC East. I have Buffalo winning the division. No surprise there. They're clearly the best team. I don't need. I mean, I don't really need to go into what they all have because it's for all you football fans, you know exactly what they have. The only really big additions they had is they added pass rusher Von Miller. This offseason. Um, I like what Buffalo has. I know they've been keep on coming up short in the playoffs, but I feel like I like them this year, and I definitely like them to win the division this year. I have them going 14-3. Which, by the way, I will be posting my predictions on LinkedIn as well, just in case you want to read it like more in depth, about why I think each team will do what they're going to do, basically, because I won't be going in depth in this podcast. Um, Next, you got Miami. I feel like we'll be in second, and not. It's not because I like to, I'm not as high on him as others, and I do think rookie head coach. We do have to see just how he does. I'm a little bit pessimistic, especially since he was only offense coordinator for 1 year. But since he's been with Shanahan, we'll see how he turns out. But they just have so many offensive weapons, and they just add that on to an already good defense. Because Miami has always been good defensively the past 2 years. It's just been their offense. But so now you just add that combination. I feel like Miami will definitely be contending for a playoff spot. Will they get one? I'm not sure, but they'll definitely be contending for one. Um, Next, you got I'm gonna have a tie between the Jets and the Patriots for last. I'm gonna have both of them go 7-10. Um, I just feel like we'll start with New England. I just feel like a defensive coordinator minded Matt Patricia and Joe Judge, special teams guy calling offensive plays. It's like that's not going to work out. You got to have a legit offensive coordinator, and McDaniels was a good offensive coordinator, and since he's now in Vegas now, it's like good luck with that. Especially with a second-year quarterback Matt Jones who has a limited ceiling and all that, and the fact that the Patriots lost a lot of players this offseason in general and didn't really replenish them. So, of course, it's hard to doubt Bill Belichick and all that, but in this case, I am. And then as far as the Jets case, I like what they did in the offseason. I especially like what they did in the draft, as we all know. But to me, because there's so many good AFC teams and now with all these different young good quarterbacks, that's why I don't have the Jets making the playoffs. But I definitely expect growth from last year. Like if they go 4-13 again this year, then that's a problem, unless injuries are a problem, of course. And again, this is all dependent on injuries. Um, so now for the AFC North, I will have Cincinnati winning this division again. I have them going 11-6. They do have a lot of difficult games on their schedule this year, but I feel like they'll bring in 3 offensive linemen to fix their offensive line, which they're one of their only main issues last year. I feel like will do wonders. They're like back in core, still not the greatest, but like other than that, their whole team's pretty good. And I feel like Joe Burrow can continue what they did last year. I don't feel like it was a one-hit wonder for them last year. But now I have Baltimore second. I have them 10-7, so I definitely have them competing with Cincinnati for that division crown. Um, I like Baltimore's defense. They just had so many injuries last year, and they get a lot of their players back, and then you just add good players from free agency. Um, the one thing I will say that I don't like about the Ravens is their receiving core. So that could be that could prevent them from winning division or even prevent them from getting a wild card spot. But I do feel like Ravens will definitely be better than last year, that's for sure. Because remember, they were number one seed for a while, and then in the playoff picture for a while. But as soon as Lamar Jackson's out the last 4 games, that's where they just tumbled. So we'll see how they are. Next is Pittsburgh. I have them at 8-9. I definitely like their overall team. Well, the offensive line's kind of shaky, but other than that, I like their overall team. But the only other thing that I don't care for is Mitch Trubisky at quarterback. He's a nice bridge quarterback, yes, and he's in the perfect bridge situation to be in because he's not like he's a bridge for Atlanta, which Atlanta's a bad team and all that. But still, it's like against Lamar, against Burrow, against all those other good AFC teams, you're just not going to get the job done. I know Tomlin has handled losing season so far, but it's like for me, it's just hard to imagine him having a win season, let alone get to the playoffs last year. I mean, this year like he did last year, and if he does it again this year, it's just a testament to how good of a coach he is. Next, you got Cleveland. I have them going 6-11. I do have them having a very bad start, but once they get Deshaun Watson back after Week 11, I feel like they can like go on a little run there to then get the momentum going to next year. Um, and then for the AFC South, I got Indianapolis winning division. I'm going 10-7. Matt Ryan to me is definitely a better quarterback than Carson Wentz because he's not going to make those crucial mistakes and stuff like that. So I definitely understand the move there. The Colts already have a good defense. They still the receiving core still not deep. They still needs to be a little bit improved. Better than that, like their overall team. We'll see if Jonathan Taylor has good of a year as last year. But I definitely think they should be good enough to win division. Next, I have Tennessee. I have them going 9-8, and I know that a lot we shouldn't doubt Tennessee because, like for me, I doubted Tennessee going to the year last year, and they ended up being the number one seed. That was with Derrick Henry out majority of the year, so it's like it's hard to doubt Mike Vrabel, but in this case, when you're down once again, I just don't see Tennessee making the playoffs here. They'll be mediocre. They'll be good, because Derrick Henry's back, and but just losing all those weapons like AJ Brown, Julio Jones, and all that, and their pass rusher Landry's out there. I just don't see how they're going to be as good as last year. Next, you got Jacksonville. I'm going to have them go 4-13. Now that's not great, but you'll definitely see an improved Jacksonville team from last year. Like they're going to be a lot more closer games this year than they were last year. That's for sure. Because I like Doug Peterson, I like him for Trevor Lawrence and their improvement, and plus them getting a bunch of receivers this offseason, all of them just to make the offense more better. Now their defense is questionable. I know their defense line is pretty good, but their linebacking core, secondary, all that's kind of questionable. But Jacksonville will be interesting to watch. And then Houston had last at 1-16. I know it's only one win, but it's like besides Brandon Cooks, their wide receiver, and like we'll see what Davis Mills has, but it's just like I don't really like their roster and coach. And then for the AFC West, this was super hard for me to predict. It's like a coin flip, in all these seedings. So don't hate on me if you don't like the order because I could easily be swayed on different orders because they're all that close. But let's get started. I have Denver winning the division at 12-5. The Broncos have a favorable schedule compared to some of the other teams in the AFC West, like the Chiefs, for example, have a harder schedule. I think Russell Wilson is the difference maker that Denver needs because Denver's had like a top 5 defense the past couple years, and now you just add an offensive coach and Russell Wilson to the mix. Okay, now you got something there. And then second, I have LA Chargers second at 11-6. I don't feel like their coach is going to cost them a playoff spot this time. And their team is obviously way improved from last year. Getting J.C. Jackson from the Patriots, Kyle Van Noy, Khalil Mack, shoring up their interior defense, which that was their main problem last year. I just feel like they're going to be a lot better this year. And then third, I have Kansas City at also 11-6. The reason why they don't win a division, again, because they're hard schedule and they lose Tyreek Hill, but they'll definitely be good enough to get a playoff spot. And then last but not least, I have Las Vegas at 10-7. I feel like they'll be in the playoff mix once again because of all their offensive weapons, but their offensive line and their secondary will be the kind of deciding factor there. Then for the NFC East, I have Philadelphia winning the division. I know it hurts me to say as a Cowboys fan, but we just have so many injuries and lost people, and Philadelphia just made so many good offseason draft moves that I finally went, with my, with the right decision there. I had Philly first at 10-7. Dallas I have second 9-8, so they'll barely miss out. Third I have Washington 7-10. I just don't think Carson Wentz is going to get them playoff, over the hump to the playoffs. I just don't see it happening with the way he plays. And the Giants have last 3-14. Again, like Dable, but I'm not a believer of Daniel Jones. Then you get the NFC North. I'm going to have Minnesota actually win this division instead of Green Bay. Minnesota going 11-6. I just feel like their new head coach, Kevin O'Connell from the Rams, while he's a rookie head coach and all that, he's just I keep on hearing he's the next Sean McVay, and that's true. And it's like I feel like he can get the best out of Kirk Cousins, at least in the regular season. So with both all the offensive weapons that the Vikings have and the overall improvement team, I feel like Vikings can get it done. Second, I have Green Bay at 10-7. Again, Roger stays just good, but you lose Devontae Adams. Their defense is going to be top 5. I like their defense, and their defense is the reason why I even had them being in playoff contention because the Packers just don't have much at all in the receiving core. So it's going to be like a heavy running game, and run and defense is all they're going to is what they're going to be their motto. They're not going to be a lot of passing anymore. Third, I have Detroit. I have them going 6-11. I definitely feel like they could be improved from last year, especially since they had a good draft. And there were a lot of close games last year. And then last, I have Chicago 314. Again, I just don't trust their offensive line and not a lot of good receivers on their roster. And their defense also has to show me something as well because their defense was pretty bad last year. Then for the NFC South, I have Tampa Bay winning division. I have them going 13-4, which is a little bit high. And again, that one I'm not purely confident on, just because of Tampa Bay's offensive line injury issues and stuff like that. But their defense will be good as long as Julio Jones steps up, Russell Gage when he's healthy stands up, Chris Conley could get healthy, and we already know Mike Evans is. That's enough weapons to get the job done. And then Saints I have next at 12-5, so I have them being a close range with Tampa Bay there. New Orleans, of course, Jameis Winston's always iffy. But I do love almost their whole rest of the roster. So I do feel like the Saints, despite Dennis Allen being the new coach and all that, losing Sean Payne, I feel like they can still get it done as long as Jameis Winston doesn't screw it up. Next, I got Carolina. I got them at 7-10 because I do feel like they have the weapons. They have good defense. Baker Mayfield's an upgrade from Sam Darnold, but the offensive line is still like bottom 10, so that will definitely cost them there. And then Atlanta 3-14. They're just rebuilding. Next, for the NFC West, I have the Rams winning at 13-4. I definitely don't see a Super Bowl hangover for them. They're just, they have a lot of good pieces on the roster, and they have a good coach. I don't feel like Sean McVay's going to let that happen to them. Next, I got Arizona at 10-7. Now, I do think having DeAndre Hopkins out the first 6 games will definitely cost them, and also obviously losing players like Chandler Jones and Chase Edmonds don't help. I feel like they have enough weapons there, and they have a good roster overall to where they can sneak into the playoffs despite losing DeAndre Hopkins for the first 6 games, as long as Kyle Murray stays healthy. Now, the one interesting thing is will their offensive line improve, because that was their weakness last year, so I do want to see that. Next is San Francisco at 9-8. Now, of course, their roster's good, but the 2 reasons why I have them 9-8: 1, their schedule is super, super hard, and it probably will cost them. And 2, it's like Trey Lance, I need to see what he is. I feel like all I hear is inconsistency in practice, sometimes good, sometimes not. So that's what I'm going to expect, in his first full year. Inconsistency, sometimes good, sometimes not, despite having Shanahan as a coach. So I have them going 9 in the Seattle last 1-16. I just don't see them doing good. So there you go. So those are all my standings there. So then in a playoff scenario in the AFC, you have Baltimore, Denver. I would take Denver. Kansas City, Cincinnati. Coin flip, I would take Cincinnati. And then Chargers, Colts, I would take Chargers. So then you have a Chargers, Buffalo divisional round matchup, and then Bengals, Broncos divisional matchup. So I would take Bills and Broncos there to have a Broncos-Bills AFC championship game with Bills winning to go to the Super Bowl. And then in NFC, I have Arizona, Tampa Bay, with Tampa Bay winning. Green Bay, Minnesota, Green Bay getting the upset there. And then New Orleans, Philadelphia, with New Orleans getting the upset there. So now I have a Green Bay Rams divisional matchup and New Orleans Tampa Bay divisional matchups. I would have Rams winning that and Tampa Bay winning that. So you have a Tampa Bay Rams, rematch from last year in the playoffs in the NFC Championship game this time, with the Rams winning. So you have a Rams Bills Super Bowl. I know that's going to be a lot of people's predictions. It's the Thursday night matchup actually, but that's just why I'm feeling it. And then again, because it's super hard to repeat as champions, I'm going to take the Bills here to finally get over the hump and win the championship. But again, it could be wrong because, again, besides Buffalo, I can see Rams winning it. I can see Broncos winning it. I can see Chiefs winning it. I can see Bengals winning it. Buccaneers maybe winning it. Like, there's a lot of different options, but I'm going to go with Buffalo there. So thank you very much for listening to my podcast today. Please subscribe to my channel to learn about me. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.